Hello and welcome to this edition of the Payoff. I'm Drew Goldfarb, joined by Rick Rockwell. We're going to be diving into the world of professional wrestling, discussing storylines, ideas, and of course, potential payoffs on prop betting as well. We are looking today at All Elite Wrestling's second pay-per-view event, All Out. Follow-up to last summer's All In show that also took place in Chicago and basically proved the concept of AEW. Odds reference here available through Bet Online. We're going to be breaking down a handful of what should be the biggest matches or the most intriguing matches from a betting perspective. Bet Online has 4 matches listed. One match that is not currently listed is Kenny Omega's match with Pac, who was supposed to be Omega versus Jon Moxley in this fight until Mox had to pull out due to an infection in his elbow. Rick, any chance that you see Pac picking up the win on Saturday?
Yeah, the only way that happens is if Moxley shows up and interferes. And, honestly, without getting into a debate about how far along he is and the health hazard of his infection and all that stuff, that's probably not going to happen, him showing up. So I just can't see Omega losing. If they want to be smart, if they want to take the easy way out, have a double count out. Or have a time limit expire. We haven't seen that in a while. And that's 2 great competitors in the ring that would have a believable outcome if they went the time limit expiration. So that's kind of where I'm leaning at. Otherwise, Omega's going to win the fight.
We actually saw Cody was involved. One of his at either, I forget if it was Fight for the Fallen. No, it was Fighter Fest. He had a time limit draw. I forget who he went up. I think it was it MJF that he fought in that show? I don't recall. That was basically leading into, we're going to get to that match in a second, that led to the Shawn Spears Cody Rhodes fight. But Kenny Omega, if you did not see Being the Elite, the most recent one, I think, Kenny Omega cut an awesome promo on Moxley. Really makes me pumped to eventually see those 2 square off. I was a fan of Pac when he was Neville in WWE. That was honestly my first exposure when he was Adrian Neville in NXT. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with All Elite Wrestling. That said, a lot more lukewarm on this match than I probably should be given the competitors involved. It's no fault of AEW's. The build and hype surrounding Omega Moxley works against this match, in my opinion, with Pac. I can't see them giving the win to anyone but Kenny Omega in this situation unless Mox can interfere. And the fact that Moxley is out due to a staph infection makes me think it's incredibly unlikely that he makes any kind of real impactful appearance or maybe even shows up on the card. I could maybe see a videotaped thing. This is the makings of an excellent match from an in-ring perspective. I'm going to warm up to it, I'm sure, during entrances, but it's hard for me to get past the disappointment of Mox not being able to compete. I would pick Kenny Omega to win the fight, though.
It does. You touched on something. It does work against the excitement of this matchup because the 2 are great competitors in the ring. Mm-hmm. Neville was a freaking stud in NXT. He was watered down in the WWE like most people are when they come up. I'm not going to go on a tangent. I'm not going to rant about it. I'm going to let that go for now. My heart, Elizabeth. Anyhow, so with that said, it's going to be an exciting matchup. It's going to be athleticism, big spots, great moves, great exchanges of moves and stuff, and all of that. That's why, personally, I would love to see a time limit expiration in this match because it keeps Pac really high. Omega needs to be high. However, with that said, yes, it works against the match not having Moxley and the pay-per-view event not having Moxley, but it can work towards the TV if they keep it off until the TV, and then you have an explosive encounter on the first episode of TV. That's the silver lining here, in my opinion.
I agree. It does make me a lot more hyped for their eventual showdown on TV, and it makes me more excited for the TV program, which I think will work in their favor long term, to basically not get all of these amazing matches out of the way, to have that something that's been built for months for their TV debut. The time limit draw could work. It would be interesting. I don't know. I think that after the way that Pac had to back out of his match at Double or Nothing, I don't know that he's going to do anything other than stare up at the lights at the end of this fight because of how very clear it was made as to why he backed out of his fight. So I think that that Omega would win anyway. Again, unless Mox is able to show up and do some kind of interference, in which case Pac will win and, dirty. But let's move on to the fights that have some real betting odds to talk about. The first one is one that I basically touched on a moment ago. Cody Rhodes is the minus 160 betting favorite. He's going up against the man formerly known as Tye Dillinger, Shawn Spears, who is a plus 120 underdog. This, of course, started Spears cracked Cody over the skull with what they said was a chair that was supposed to be gimmicked, but he seemed to have hit him with the hard part on the top and cut him nice and got some nice color for that situation. Cody seemed to be okay. So who do you got in this fight as they actually show down at the pay-per-view?
You know, I wish we actually saved this one for last, because this is the one that, for me, is the main event of the whole event. I'm really pumped for this match. I love the story coming into this, how far they're going back with how long they've known each other. And then, without any doubt, the biggest single reason I'm the most excited for this event, because this match, is because they brought freaking Tully Blanchard in. Woo! They brought him in. 4 Horsemen OG. But not only that, the reason they brought him in is because he feuded with Dusty Rhodes for years. They had one of the best feuds in, like, it was either 83 or 84, right around there. And then he went on to feud with Magnum TA and stuff. Like, Tully Blanchard was the man back in the 80s. In my opinion, one of the top 10 best workers in all of wrestling for that entire decade of the 80s. And you had a lot of great workers back then. I love Tully Blanchard. To bring him in to be the consultant, the manager, whatever you want to call him, the advisor to Spears for this match, because he knows what it is to feud against a Rhodes, because he knows what it's like to prepare for the Rhodes, and having him just say, you know what, if you want to make your biggest impression, you go after a Rhodes. Like, it was just so perfect. I've watched every video segment they have on YouTube with Tully Blanchard involved for this whole storyline, this whole feud they got going. I absolutely love it. This is one of my favorite, you know, and it's sad that it's not built up on TV, because we probably get more exposure. But for the hardcore diehards who watch it on YouTube, it still was just a tremendous build-up each week, the storyline of all of that. I love it. I love this match. I love this story. I love Tully Blanchard being involved. It'd be awesome if Dustin Rhodes was in the corner. If he's not in the corner for for Cody, that's fine. You know, if they can come up with somebody else, man, if Magnum TA could do it, I would be popping and screaming like crazy. With that said, I'm actually going with the underdog here. I'm going with Spears to win this match, partly because I'm hoping he wins more than anything. I think if he wins, because Tully Blanchard helping him, it continues to feud longer, which I believe this feud should go longer. You got 2 excellent workers in the ring. You've got a chance to elevate Spears to a level that he was not able to get to in the WWE. I know in NXT he had his 10 gimmick and people loved them and he was putting on good matches, but he was basically treated like a glorified jobber, like a Barry Horowitz. Yes, we're going back once again to an old school reference. He was Barry Horowitz for a while in WWE before he left. You have a chance to elevate him to one of the main players of the promotion if he can pick up a win here. Continuing to have Tully Blanchard with him would be amazing as well. Getting into television with a heel who has a huge win over the face of the company would be incredible. And it's something that this company needs. You can't continue to have the Rhodes and the Young Bucks and even Omega winning every match. You got to start putting over other talent besides Moxley to be able to have a more well-defined top-level top shelf of talent, of wrestlers. Like, I'm going with Spears to win. I want him to win. I think it's the best for business, and I'm truly hoping Tully Blanchard gets in there and gives him a patented slingshot suplex.
I agree with you on a lot of those points, and I agree with your pick too. I think Spears wins this one. I like the value at plus 120. And you want to talk history? Let's talk some history. You talked about Tully Blanchard and Dusty. Let's talk Cody and Shawn here, because they did not compete head-to-head at all on the WWE main roster or when Tye Dillinger was on NXT. Last time these two squared off one-on-one was over 12 years ago, as Cody Rhodes, then known as Cody Runnels, faced Shawn Spears in Ohio Valley Wrestling. They battled for much of 2007 head-to-head. They'd been a tag team for a lot of 2006 and early into 2007. They were even OVW tag team champs together. I think this is going to be an interesting look at the booking and the building process for AEW, which you touched on here. Cody beat Dustin at Double or Nothing, fought to a draw with Darby Allin at Fyter Fest, and lost to the Young Bucks in a tag team match at Fight for the Fallen, of course, with Dustin as his partner. It's Spears' first singles match for AEW. He won a 6-man tag match at Fight for the Fallen with MJF and Sammy Guevara, and he previously lost in the Casino Battle Royale at Double or Nothing. Obviously, he had his big moment at Fyter Fest when he clobbered Cody with that unprotected chair shot to the head, but I'm interested to see if AEW can make Spears a star, because it's something that you got into. It's an important thing to be able to flesh out the top of the card, to have more than just the guys that everybody knows are involved with AEW up there. I'm not sure if Spears is a top guy, but I'm curious to see what they're able to do in this match and what Cody can do to elevate Shawn Spears to his level. I'm taking a flyer on Spears to win in the hopes that Cody can use himself to build up someone else. It makes sense for business, like you said, Rick, to have a legitimized challenger to Cody for when we get into TV. And if you have Shawn Spears as a legitimate guy who beats Cody legitimately, when you get into television, you've got your first feud, and you've got a guy who has a legitimate claim to being better than Cody Rhodes. They've been building Spears up for a little while now. I'm going to take him for the upset and hope that Cody is able to do what he does not believe Triple H has ever been able to do, which is to take someone, decide to book them one way, and book them against themselves and make them into a star, even though Triple H has done that on a handful of occasions at the very least.
Randy Orton,
you can go Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 in one of the greatest WrestleMania opening matches of all time. You could talk about, whatever you want to do. Him handing the Universal title to Kevin Owens was an endorsement. So I think that it would be interesting to see if, the Throne Breaker is able to do something that Triple H has shown the capability of doing, but right from the start. So let's move on to some tag team actions. We got 2 matches that have betting odds here. This first one is to earn a first-round bye in the AEW Tag Team Title Tournament. It's between the Dark Order and the Best Friends. And I guess we can glance over the fact that they're fighting in what is technically basically a first-round match for one of these teams to get a first-round bye in the tournament, and the losing team has to then fight again in the first round. Anyway, logistics aside, the Dark Order favored at -200, the Best Friends underdogs at +150. Rick, who do you like?
Honestly, you can go either way here. I know the odds makers are leaning towards the Dark Order, and I'm leaning towards the Dark Order, but you could go in either direction here. Neither tag team is it's not like you can say, well, this tag team is, in the upper echelon of tag teams in the AEW. They're still basically sorting out anybody below the Young Bucks and Phoenix and his partner.
Pentagon Jr., Lucha Brothers.
Yeah. So everybody below them and the Rhodes brothers. Anybody below those 3 teams, they're still sorting out. This honestly should go either way. I think the Dark Order are a little overvalued. I would have, liked to have seen closer odds, because I don't think there's one direction or another that is more clear-cut in terms of, well, this team's going to be the one they put in and they have a good shot of winning the tournament. So I'm going with Dark Order just because, basically the odds are pointing towards them right now. I don't know what they opened at, so I can't say if the line shifted and that's why we have to go there. But because they're such a favorite, it's hard to bet against them. I went with one underdog already. I can't go with an underdog here.
I agree with you. It's the Best Friends, which are Chucky T, Chuck Taylor, and Trent Beretta, taking on the Dark Order, which is Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Dark Order debuted in AEW as a surprise at Double or Nothing back in May. They attacked the Best Friends and the tag team that they had just faced. I don't remember who that was offhand. They also popped up after the Best Friends won their match at AEW Fyter Fest. Dark Order won their in-ring debut for All Elite Wrestling at Fight for the Fallen. They won a triple threat tag match. It would make sense to continue building the Dark Order to be the strong team that they are, which would mean giving them a win in this match here. So I'm going to take them to get the win. I also think that if you're talking about giving a team a bye in a tournament, letting them advance to the second round just because, I think that works better with a heel team. I think that it makes more sense to have the baby faces have to run the gauntlet rather than giving them a breather. So the best friends make more sense as having to fight not only this match, but then have to actually fight a first round match. Basically playing a play-in game to the first round, whereas the Dark Order could get this, they can win, they can continue to look strong, and then they're the bad guys, they can sit back and enjoy having, a round off. Let's go on to the AAA World Tag Team Championship match. It is Escalera de la Muerte. It is a death ladder match. That is the literal translation of this. The Young Bucks, the champions for AAA, taking on the Lucha Brothers, that is Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. Who do you like in this one? The Young Bucks, even money, plus 100. They're the underdogs. Lucha Brothers, minus 140, gives them favorite status from the betting perspective.
They still got value, though, there, too, at minus 140. And if the odds come down a little bit, that's even better. I'm going with the Lucha Brothers because, the Young Bucks already beat them once. The Young Bucks have beat the Rhodes Brothers. It was just like we were talking about earlier. Like, you can't keep having them continue to win. Like, you have extremely talented superstars in the AAA champs that need to get some kind of victory on an AEW show. You can't continue to have them lose every match they're on or a part of. Then it makes fans not care. And that's obviously the mistake WWE makes a lot of the time with their talents. They're too talented to be treated like that. This match is going to be a high spot fest, which, the crowd's going to be chanting, all their chants, holy this, holy that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be carnage. Hopefully nobody gets injured. I heard Phoenix was already injured, and so they were a little bit concerned about this match, how well he's going to be able to perform and stuff. But with that said, I'm going with the favorites here. I think not only should they win, I think they're going to finally get the win, whether it's Pentagon, pulling it out for the team, just in case Phoenix isn't 100%. I think some way, somehow they get the win here. I think the Young Bucks need to put over another team right now. Young Bucks are already clearly the top team in the AEW. They've already won 2 huge matches. What's best for business, they shouldn't keep winning every match.
I agree with your pick. I'm also going with the Lucha Brothers. The ladder match stipulation makes me excited about this because I know that, the Jacksons are really good with ladders, that the Young Bucks thrive in ladder match situations. And I know that the Lucha Brothers are unbelievably entertaining no matter what kind of match they're in, not that the Young Bucks aren't. But this is something that I think they should have done months ago. Yeah. This should have been the match at Double or Nothing. It should have been a way to debut it, let them go out, go big on it, give the Lucha Brothers back their titles, and then you wouldn't have had to do Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers at every other show they've done. This is a situation where I would like to see the Young Bucks facing somebody else. It goes back to your point about building and fleshing out the divisions. It's All Elite Wrestling does not have the history that WWE does. WWE can sit there and tell you whatever and throw another tag team in because even if you don't buy the tag team based on their recent performance, they've got some kind of history. They could go, this team was really good at NXT. We're going to show you highlights of that. You remember because you watch all of our products that this team was at one time really legitimate. And they can kind of use that to bring people back up. They did it recently with, the OC, with the club. They've done it from time to time with the Revival. They technically could do it with the Ascension if they wanted to. They haven't. But AEW doesn't really have that. If people are coming into this from a perspective of, this is really appealing to me because I know Chris Jericho, I know the Young Bucks, I know Cody. I don't watch a lot of it, but I watch a lot of WWE and I do get bored with it. Seeing the Young Bucks go up against somebody else, seeing Cody go up against somebody else makes for a more fleshed out division because you have a measuring stick that you're comparing the other team to. And I think that's a lot of the downfall on it. And I just, I'm excited for it. I think the Lucha Brothers are going to win, but I'm not nearly as excited as I was the first time that these two teams squared off. And I'm not nearly as excited for it as I should be when they're doing an Escalera de la Muerte and they're calling it a death ladder match. Like, that should have me beyond ecstatic for this matchup. And instead, it's made me actually interested. And I think that that's something that they've got to correct, is they've got to split these off. This is another one of those, how many rematches do you get? It's when, WWE said that they did away with the automatic rematch clause. Not that they followed up with that entirely, but they said they did that months ago. And here's AEW picking up, oh, what was that? Oh, okay. You guys discarded it. Let's use that. But I got the Lucha Brothers. I think that's really good value at minus 140. I don't see the Young Bucks carrying these titles into TV. I think they're going to go in the tag team tournament somewhere. We'll see what happens from that point. But I think the Lucha Brothers get their belts back. Let's move on to the first All Elite Wrestling Championship that is going to be handed out. That is the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. You've got the favorite Chris Jericho at minus 200, taking on the Hangman Adam Page. He is the underdog at plus 150. No champion coming into this match, so no challenger to speak of. There will be a first AEW World Heavyweight Champion crowned. Is it going to be Jericho or is it going to be Hangman, Rick?
Well, I've been saying for a while now it has to be Jericho, and so I'm sticking with it. I just think going into TV, you have arguably your company's biggest face that the mainstream fans and media know is Chris Jericho. Having him as champ and having Paige chase after him on TV makes more sense for business, makes more sense for ratings. You can eventually have him put over Paige on TV, and that'll make him a bigger star to the new fans and new audience and stuff. I just see more factors contributing to the decision of having Jericho win as opposed to the decision of having Hangman Page win. If I was booking the whole show, if I was Booker, if Cody called me up and said, you know what, Rick, I need a little bit of advice here. I need some help here. I'd say, first of all, Cody, you're losing your match, okay? We'll come up with a dusty finish, but you're losing your match. And then I would tell him, you know what? We need to have a time-limited expiration for Pac and Omega. And then I want to see Pac rekindle his feud with Hangman Page. And if that costs Page the title to keep him looking strong, then so be it. But Jericho needs to walk away with the belt. Heading into TV, if it's not going to be Moxley, then it has to be Jericho with the belt, the gold around his waist. I just believe he's a bigger name. He's a bigger superstar. He's known around the world, not only as a wrestler, but as a musician, a podcaster, an author, like everything. He's a Renaissance man. He's a Renaissance man in wrestling. He continues to reinvent himself. He is right now like the perfect candidate to start off a television program as your world champion. I'm going Y2J Chris Jericho. Yeah, baby! And I hope he brings out the clipboard. If not, I'll have a clipboard.
This is going to be the first show where we just agree on everything here, because wow. I'm also going to go with Jericho on it. It makes the most sense. I mean, to your point, it goes back to what I was saying too about the with the tag team tournament giving a bye. It makes more sense to have a babyface chase. And if Page starts off with the belt, there's nowhere for him to go. There also isn't really a challenger for him if Moxley and Omega is going to stay as a group. Because are you really going to throw Cody into the first AEW World Heavyweight Championship feud? I don't think you're going to do that. So it makes more sense to have Jericho hold it. He's incredible on the mic. He can draw the fans in from elsewhere. WWE fans who maybe won't be watching the pay-per-view, the people who are in that kind of group, will eventually, by the time TV starts, know that Chris Jericho is holding the AEW title, and that might get people to watch. I think it makes the most sense from it. I think it's, Jericho as a heel champion is amazing. And I think that it'll be the best way to kick off TV. The way that his character goes, the only way I would not put the belt on Jericho is if he's not signed past this weekend. And even then, I'd probably still put the belt on him and then try to just be like, no, come on, please, before TV. But yeah, no, I think that Jericho makes the most sense. I didn't fully buy into it going into Double or Nothing with him. I thought they would have tried to put their best showman, their best in-ring performers at the forefront, but this makes the most sense. It's Jericho to draw the eyeballs, and it's Page for the performance. And Page may eventually win the title from Jericho and steal it away from him, but I think it makes the most sense to have Jericho enter TV with that gold around his waist as the first AEW World Heavyweight Champion. I think it's kind of funny that they're going to be taking a guy from WWE and making him their first champion instead of taking an independent wrestler, but I get it from a business perspective. It makes the most sense to book someone that everybody who has watched wrestling in the last 5 years knows who he is worldwide. It really makes it a world championship instead of an independent championship. It elevates it beyond like a Ring of Honor kind of thing where it's like, no, I know the Ring of Honor championship is important, but if you're a more casual wrestling fan, do you ever know the guy's name until you hear former Ring of Honor champion Seth Rollins is now the Universal Champion? Do you ever know who, if you're a more casual fan, you never know who holds that title? Because it's never someone like Chris Jericho. It's never someone who has that name recognition on an international casual scale, casual or diehard. And it's not like they're putting on like Hogan, where they're taking some guy who's like 60, or Hogan's got to be like 90 at this point. But
I mean, we're about 6 weeks out to when the show comes. I mean, you really can book for the show now with this pay-per-view. And if they pull off a miracle and get CM Punk also somehow, I mean, be great before the show. I mean, we can hold our breath, not for too long, but I still think Jericho, everything that's been said, Jericho makes the most sense to lead the AEW into, but not only that, even though he's a former WWE wrestler, he still was a big star the last time he was on WWE television.
Yep.
They just decided not to really use him to his full. He got over every stupid gimmick they straddled him with. Exactly. Amazing. He's an amazing talent.
Yeah, he's had more highly successful gimmicks than anyone, I think. I don't know if there's a wrestler that has been as versatile. I think we've talked about this before, but I don't know if there's anyone in the history of wrestling that has done what Jericho has done, where he's had so many variations of himself. I mean, The Rock had a handful that were all really wildly successful. You had Hollywood Rock, and you've got like Legend Rock, and you had Corporation Rock, and the People's Champ Rock. Rocky Maivia was, I guess you could say that Rocky Maivia, The Rock in the Nation, would have also counted towards that. So he'd have like 5 in his, and I don't know that anybody else has really gone that big with things. Triple H was DX Triple H. He was the Game.
It was Hunter Helmsley when he came out.
Yeah, that wasn't nearly as successful. I mean, Jericho, like, even if you don't count his cruiserweight work in WCW, which was incredibly popular and successful, the whole 1,004 moves where half of them were 7/10 of them were armbar. I mean, that is one of like the best promos that was, ever.
The only other guy that I feel who had multiple gimmicks, who was a star with all of them, would be Mick Foley.
Yeah. But Foley technically, though, had as many or fewer than The Rock did. Because if you're going with Mankind, if you count it as Mankind, Mick Foley, because if you're counting basically babyface Mankind as Mick Foley, that's Mick Foley. Cactus Jack and Dude Love, he had 4. All of them very successful. But The Rock had, 5 variants of himself. That were like truly, I mean, no name changes, but Jericho hasn't ever changed his name other than, Lionheart to whatever, but to Y2J. But, I mean, Austin had heel and face.
Forget the ringmaster.
Yeah, I'm not counting that. I mean, Jericho was, he was the picking a fight with Goldberg as a cruiserweight punching above his weight class in WCW, which got him the WWE contract where he debuted as Y2J, the Ayatollah of rock and roll. And, how many times did he come back and he was reinvented every single time?
Well, ever since the Lionheart and ECW, he continued to reinvent himself. with whatever stupid gimmick that people try and throw at him. And he makes it into a success. He makes it entertaining because of his promo work, his creativity, his understanding of the business, and his ring work. There's nobody better suited right now in AEW to start off as your first champ than Jericho. And watch, they'll go and do something stupid and put it on Page.
Well, we'll see how that goes. That is coming up this weekend, but this has been the Payoff. We're going to have plenty more in the weeks to come as we discuss the storylines as they develop, random wrestling rants, and of course, bring you the available betting lines for pay-per-views. I'm Drew Goldfarb. He's Rick Rockwell. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Labor Day weekend. And, of course, enjoy All Out. We'll see you next time.